Everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast. My name's Ryan, and with me is
Enshin.
Dr. Grid.
and welcome to Kamen Rider Zi-O, episode 25. So where we pick off, the Timejackers are hanging out on a rooftop at night, with Schwartz admiring Regulus, the brightest star in Leo, I believe. He explains how the star normally crosses the meridian in April, uh, and suggests that Oma Day is coming sooner than expected. The next morning, another O's appears and attacks the guy who was the basketball player who was the host for another build, uh, and steals his power and becomes another build, and another O's turns into another build himself. So we all know what the twist is just from the stinger at the end of last week that it's another Zi-O. Uh, it's unfortunate that they couldn't get Dan Kuroto's actor back, uh, but it's not like he would have had much of a role to play. He would have just been attacked like the others are. Any thoughts, Grid?
Uh, well, nothing really you haven't mentioned before. I mean, yeah, you already mentioned the stuff about Dan Kuroto, which I sort of had in mind. Yeah, they wouldn't have much to do with him. But if they did, they'd probably save it for later.
Honestly, if Dan Kuroto even did come back, um, it would just be to be attacked, and all he'd have to do would be make a goofy face like he does right in when his cameo here. So it would be more of what we've seen before. Not that I don't Kuroto's actor. Also with the Leo the uh, um, well, they could have made a Q Ranger joke, but in reality, I'm glad they did not.
They could have made a Forze joke.
Go on.
Like with the Zodiarts.
Oh yeah, I get that. What do you mean a Key Ranger joke?
Since it's Leo, they just mentioned
Oh,
something about something being lucky.
Or, or better yet, like Juoger.
Why Oger?
Because Leo.
Yeah, that would be a bit more of a stretch.
but I guess save the Sentai references for the Super Sentai Psycho battle that's going on in another world.
True.
Uh, so Sogo and his uncle are having a quiet breakfast with Uncle clearly missing Gaze and Tsukuyomi's company. He really liked that Sogo had friends. And then Waz shows up, and he gets excited again and invites Waz to breakfast and goes off in the kitchen to make something. Uh, and then Waz sits down to talk to Sogo, and then it immediately cuts away. And I'm just gonna pretend that once again they walked off without saying anything to Uncle, and he comes back out to an empty room.
Or Uncle deserves better. That whole Sogo's backstory, that whole family's backstory is so sad. At least they stayed for Christmas dinner back, but poor uncle is just please let Sogo have friends, and I'm like, you're just so sweet. And It's good that people come around, but they're all either trying to manipulate Sogo or killing him, so that makes it more sad in a way. Like, stuff has changed, and Gates is technically Sogo's friend now.
Grid,
Yes.
any thoughts?
Uh, yeah, I kind of already agree with what Henshin said about him wanting to have his uncle to have friends.
Okay. So we cut to an ambulance carrying away the guy that was another X-Aid. With Sogo and Waz watching him get carried away. And like I said before, there was no explanation of them leaving, so once again, I'm just assuming that like they just left. But yeah. Uh, so another build shows up, and Sogo henshins into Zi-O with the build armor to fight him. Naturally, the appropriate ride watch should defeat that rider. However, when he defeats the another build, the another X8 emerges. Was not liking the situation at all, calls for a retreat. Uh, meanwhile,
Wait, they didn't.
oh, go on.
No, it's nothing.
Meanwhile, Gaze and Tsukuyomi are also aware of the situation, but are unaware of what's behind it themselves. Gaze wants to go investigate, but Tsukuyomi calls doubt onto Gaze's intentions, wondering if he really will bring himself to defeat Sogo when the time comes. And Gaze just kind of gives her a half-hearted yeah, as he kind of shrugs it off and goes off on his way. Grid?
Yeah, I also kind of see that Sogo still refuses to use the X8 ride watch ever since its debut.
I don't know why, but for some reason they gave it to Gaze.
Yeah, I mean, he already has the Gem ride watch, so I don't know why he needs two of the same armor.
Production-wise, they're probably like the same thing, just recolored.
Yeah, but yeah, that's really what it is, except without the Gashcon breakers and just different text on the helmet.
Eh. Oh, don't really have much to add. It's at this point in the series that Gates has serious doubts about because it'll mean hurting Sogo. Also, I noticed they're at that temple that I've seen them at a few times, so maybe that's like their default place to crash when they're not those place.
Yeah, that's clearly like where they're staying now. We saw them there before they moved into the clock shop, so that's like their little home, refuge, whatever. So, that night Sogo has a dream. Or maybe not that night, maybe it was just later that day. He has a dream of him standing on a beach facing Gaze, and the two begin to fight. When he wakes up, he tells Waz about the dream, and Waz is thinking, oh, preparing for your epic battle. But Sogo feels calm about the whole thing. He didn't feel at all threatened by gays during the fight. He also mentions a particularly bright star, which Waz explains is Regulus, the king's star. Sogo changes topics by moving on to the Another Rider situation, uh, where they come to the conclusion that past contract holders are in fact being targeted.
Okay, hi Zero.
Hello. Sorry it was late, everyone.
It's alright.
That's fine.
So Zero, to catch up real quick. How do you? So Uncle clearly is like missing Gaze and Tsukuyomi's company. Just general behavior is clear. How do you feel about that?
I mean, he is basically the most normal human being in this show, so like his reactions are pretty okay. Like, yeah, it he did. Like, okay, from his point of view, they're weirdos, all of Sogo's friend, but then again, Sogo's not normal to begin with. So as long as like at least there's someone around, he thinks it's an okay influence because like freaking Black Waz shows up and he's like, "Okay, dude, I don't care. Whatever. Sit down. I'm gonna make food. Just, stick around." So I'm like, "Oh, he's such a nice guy."
Which they didn't show it, but I'm
which is
assuming
good.
that they walked out without telling him again, and he came back to an empty room.
I mean, that is the annoying running gag, but yeah. Um yeah, which is kind of really sad, but I'm like, "Ah, fuck it." He seems to be okay with it because as long as Sogo has friends, so he's putting up with all that shit, um, which is nice. Like, how should I? Like, he's um, okay. Like Yuri's aunt from Ryuki, right?
Yeah.
Like the absolute worst piece of shit, unnecessary character,
Who
the one I hate the most
who
in
became
Ryuki.
less and less relevant as the show went on.
I know, right? She was like relevant for like 10 seconds, and then she was number one enemy throughout the rest of the show. But like, if he is basically like Sogo's uncle is like the pinnacle of like what a supporting character should be, like a plot irrelevant supporting character should be, who's like, yeah, he's just a nice human being who's just there to be like kind of like a writer's tie back into reality and like like kind of like a moral compass type thing, which he does so well, as opposed to Yuri's aunt, who is just like the worst. I mean, like she's not terrible, but like she fights with all the nice characters and like she pisses everybody off, and we're supposed to be like, oh, how charming her antics. But like, fuck that character. She doesn't deserve the screen time. I'm like, not the actress. She did a good job, but like that character was annoying. Whereas like Soga's uncle shows up barely in the show, and he's like the best character. So whenever he gets more screen time, I'm okay with. Plus, like the acting is really good for him too.
Wish I could make cuckoo clock noises every time I had a funny reaction to something.
Uh, and Sogo like fights the Another Zi-O a little bit, and the ride watch fails to work. And while Gaze and Tsukuyomi are talking about the situation, Tsukuyomi calls Gaze into question, like, "Hey, will you defeat Sogo when the time comes?" And he just kind of gives like a half-hearted Yazzie walks off. What do you think of that, Zero?
Yeah, I mean, like it's weird. Like Tsukuyomi definitely has like, okay, she has a role in the show now because she's basically like it's basically become the Gates and Tsukiyomi show, Gates, Tsukiyomi, and Whitewash show. So like they're literally a second rider show happening while the main rider show is happening. So like she has a position now. The problem is she's basically an entirely new character. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I can kind of see like your relevance to the plot now, but it's like your shift is still weird. Um, yeah. Whereas Gates and like everybody else works, Tsukiyomi, I think the shift was like a little too harsh. Like plot wise, it makes sense, but like character wise, it's like I don't know. There should have been like an in between step, you know?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I've said before that I feel like Tsukuyomi switching sides was a bit too sudden.
Yeah, I mean, like the annoying thing is like she serves a really important role, and she's like well acted, and like even like when she goes back trying to get more information and stuff, she still acts nice to like the uncle and stuff for the most part. So like she hasn't completely turned into an asshole. It's just okay, she wants to stop Omazio like super hard, but I'm like, wasn't this like Gates's characterization? I get they're doing the look, now you see the other person's point of view, so now they've changed, like how fuck, like lots of writer shows have done this, but I'm just thinking of like um when Ryukyu and like Shinji finally decides, oh yeah, I figured out the one thing, worth fighting for. And like none of the other writers want to fight him now because they've kind of come around to Shinji's point of view of like this fighting shit is dumb. Like yeah, I mean other shows have done stuff like this too, but it's weird because like structurally her decisions make sense and like I get where she's coming from and she's well acted. It's just like there should have been a better way to do this. Like it feels like there should have been a movie or a special or something that happened, and by the end of it, Tsukiyomi would have become this character. But there's like nothing, right? Like I don't think the movie is gonna answer this. It's just that like Zi-O got his power up, and Tsukiyomi's like, no, fuck that. This guy, we can't trust him now. And I'm like, why? He's basically the same dude. Actually, he's more nicer than he used to be.
Actually, that's true. Sogo comes off as way less conceited nowadays. All right. So to pick up where what I was going over around the time we disconnected, Sogo has a prophetic dream of his future battle with Gaze. When he's telling Waz about it, he mentions that he didn't really feel threatened at all. He felt very peaceful about it. And says that there was a really bright star, which Waz explains is Regulus, the King Star, and is kind of like the beacon of Oma Day. So why don't we just talk about that first? Grid, do you have anything to say about this?
No, not really. I mean, that's nothing that hasn't been said already.
Henshin?
I think nah, I don't have anything else to add. Look up Regulus, and yes, it's the kingly star, brightest star in the night sky. Interestingly enough, its name in Latin means little king, so I'm like, like our little king.
Yeah, except she's not here for this podcast. It would have been perfect. Yeah, like when I saw the Kingly Star thing, I'm like, where the fuck are the Q Ranger? Right? When the star thing happened, I'm like, if I hear one freaking Yosha Lucky, I'm turning this episode right the
We
fuck
actually
off.
didn't mention that earlier.
Oh my
I did. I am actually.
She actually
I'm very
did.
glad they didn't do a Yosha Lucky.
Yeah, but that was a weird thing because like it's weird. Like, can he see the future, or is this just the thing he thinks will happen and it'll actually happen? Because wasn't that the point of last episode? Is like he's dangerous because like whatever his subconscious dreams up ends up happening. So like I guess even if it's not the future, it's what Sogo deep down thinks might happen and might actually happen. Um, which is fucked up, but I guess that explains how like White Waz has that book where it's like it can't actually change the future. It can kind of just influence the future. Whereas like Soga's actual power is like, nah, if I dream it hard enough, it'll actually happen. That's why he's a weirdo, dangerous person. Um, yeah, but this whole King Star thing, like, this basically it's all leading up to Omar Day, and like, wow, like I was thinking it's gonna come up, but I was not expecting like this little arc to be like, okay, fuck it, Omar Day is happening now, deal with it now, which is impressive because like I know the show started actually being about its plot like a couple episodes ago, but I was not expecting to get to here so soon, which that's kind of cool. Shorts being a fucking asshole continues to be a thing though. But yeah, that's skipping ahead a bit.
I mean, Schwartz is an asshole. So
I mean, I like how he's such an asshole that like even the other time jackers are like, you did what? You crazy insane person. Like they are so shocked by what he just pulled. That's insane, right?
Sogo and Waz conclude that old contract holders are being targeted. The astrologist or astronomer, whatever, who was another Fize and another Forze, is attacked next. Gaze comes to his aid, and when Sogo comes up, Gaze just like takes the X-Aid watch from him as though there's no oncoming battle between them. He's still just acting like Sogo is his friend. So yeah, that was really just a half-hearted yeah he gave to Tsukuyomi earlier. He takes it before Sogo can explain that the ride watches don't exactly work. Then White Waz shows up to protect his savior. Another rider reveals himself as another Zi-O. He calls Sogo out as the two of them being fated before walking off. Gaze questions if Sogo knows who he is, and Sogo has no idea. So, any thoughts about this whole fight? I gave mine on Gaze still acting like Sogo's friend, and my only other thought would be just how White is protective of Gaze, like, in the sense that, like, the Another Rider was insulting Gaze, and so White Waz came in to defend his honor, basically. Like, I won't let you call my savior a fool.
That was a good moment, because White Waz doesn't seem like nice at all, but he clear like, this is my savior, do not mouth him. I also liked the little bickering between Sogo and Gates afterward. Gates is like, why didn't it work? And Sogo's like, I tried to tell you the Ryan Watch didn't work. What? Why didn't you tell me earlier? And so on. As for another Zi-O, given what happens later in the episode and the setup for next episode, I'm like, between them at the same time, I do not know why this guy wants to go, especially when Sogo is very likely not responsible for what happened to them at all. And I'm like, Schwartz, what did you do? So I guess we'll find out next week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like something like Schwartz either went to the accident, caused it, or didn't cause it and just showed up at that time and just told the kid like, yeah, these people died because Sogo lives. And so it's like, if you want to set time or whatever, kill this asshole. Um, but I mean, that's my theory. I'm not sure that's where it's going. Interesting enough, it's that fight was pretty interesting because yeah, um, like Gates and Sogo basically still being friendly for the most part, even though they know they kind of shouldn't be this nice to each other. Um, and then both of the Wazes are freaking great in this episode because like White Waz is kind of just being showing like his more loyal side, which was nice. But then like Black Waz is fucking great because he's just like sitting there. It's like, oh yes, that devilish side in you. That's what I like to see. And he's just like trying to be like, oh come on, just act more like Amazio. I'm like, fuck. If it's a good thing I'm not a shipper because this is like shipping fuel the episode. Um, just,
Wait,
Oh, I'm telling King and Vashi about that.
um, especially when they go to like another wizard's like club host. What the I don't know what the hell was going on there, but like that, like the whole scene because it's like they spent like a whole night like fan fiction right here, right? What happened in your fan fiction in these couple of hours, you fucks. Um, and then I'm like, oh my god, it's turning into like Kuga levels of like, and shit happened, and we will write infinite fan fiction. Um, but I'm like, I'm not shipping this, so I'm like turning this off. But like, they're both so good because like same actor, right? But he plays both versions so differently, and it's freaking great. Um, it's really interesting that like another like the person who's like trying to take down Sogo is so like he doesn't give a shit about like White Waz or Black Waz or Gates or any of them. Like he probably doesn't give a shit about the Time Jackers either, right? He's like, okay, Sogo, I'm just here to take you out. Like, oh, here, this is who I am. You don't even know? Fuck you. Like I'm going to take you down. Like I don't even care that you know my identity. Um, so it's so interesting. Like I thought at first I'm like, wait, are we getting another weird Time Rider? Because he was like, oh, I'm here. Like we're fated to fight over and over and all this shit. I'm like, okay, are you from another weirdo timeline?
I thought it's
But
oh, maybe they're both like have that potential destiny to be the king, kind of thing.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, maybe Schwartz just told him that like one of you two will become the king, and like the main timeline just has Sogo becoming king, but like you can change that if you become another Zi-O. Um, which is interesting, but like yeah, he's so different than most people because he's just like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Like I'll attack whoever. I just want the power. I don't care about these people.
Shoot!
Oh yeah, you know who I am? Too bad. What are you gonna do about it? Like come fight me. You can't win. Like he's so cocky. Um, but like he can also back it up, even though he's shown like it's such a weird dynamic, like that you don't really see that much.
So, as Zero was talking about before, Sogo and Waz go to uh, the little dinner theater place that does magic shows to watch over the another wizard victim, and he's just kind of like Sogo's just kind of getting giddy about it as he's watching over someone else, thinking about how it must have been for Gaze and Tsukuyomi to watch over him, which was coming. It's like, hey, I'm fine with that. It's your evil side that I want. Uh, Meanwhile, Tsukuyomi pays Uncle a visit, ask him about Sogo and his history. Uh, and Uncle explains that like Sogo's never had many friends before, especially like after his parents died in that accident. Uh, it was a major bus accident which had two. Tsukuyomi was going to ask about Sogo's rival, basically. It was a major bus accident that had two survivors, Tokiwa Sogo and Kakogawa Hiryu, the another Zi-O. When the another wizard victim goes to leave, Sogo goes to follow him to protect him, but the guy gets paranoid and thinks that Sogo is the one after him, so he runs away and ends up getting attacked by Hiryu. Sogo, however, manages to catch up and interrupt the attack. Henshin and fight. Gaze and White Waz both show up to join in as well, with Gaze basically shoving Zi-O aside so he can be the one to defeat the Another Rider. However, even the two of them find themselves unable to handle it. Meanwhile, onlooking, sees the Another Zi-O and rushes back to Ura and Schwartz to call Schwartz out on it. And even Ura is shocked at how far Schwartz has gone this time. Schwartz thinks that he has come up with their best plan yet, though. The King of the Another Riders. Zi-O and Another Zi-O's fight continues, and they are both able to see the future of what each other is doing. They're kind of matched in strength. And that's where the episode ends. Grid, any thoughts?
So, why didn't he turn into another wizard when he got the ride watch from, or another ride watch?
He failed to get it, so go interrupted.
Okay.
That's because the guy didn't pass out unconscious like the other victims did. He ran away.
Uh-huh.
Any other thoughts on the fight? Or Schwartz's plan?
So does another Zi-O have all the powers of Zi-O and so because he seems to have the see into the future ability that Zi-O 2 has. So if that's the case, would he also have like the power, the decade armor?
If he got another decade, but there was no another decade. Zi-O got his decade power up from Decade himself.
Right.
So that's one advantage that Sogo has, but it also isn't.
But then, so yet he still has the powers of Zi-O 2, despite him being based on Zi-O's base form.
Well, kinda. It's more like another Zi-O's special ability is that he can see Zi-O's future. Whereas like Zi-O 2 can see anybody's future and he can predict their stuff, whereas it seems another Zi-O's ability is he can predict Zi-O's moves.
What makes you think it's limited to only Zi-O?
Oh, doesn't the sub say that? Like Zi-O says like, oh, I can see your thing, and then another Zi-O goes like, oh, I can see Zi-O's future.
I think
so
he,
they can counter each other.
I think he just says like, "I can see your future too." Yeah, I
Okay,
can
yeah, I
also
thought
see
he's
your future.
yeah, I thought he said more like I can see your future. So it's like, okay, well, it doesn't really matter because like either way, he can perfectly counter him.
Yeah, it was kind of just like, yeah, I can do that too. What of it?
Yeah, I mean, that suit, like, I like another Zi-O, like, the mask is freaky. But besides the mask, like, everything else in that suit is so nice. I'm like, fuck, why couldn't this be the suit? I mean, um, like some of the another rider suits are really nice. Another Zi-O's suit's pretty nice too. That face is a little too freaky, though.
I'm still curious as to why his belt is just a repainted Jiku driver instead of like a completely different belt like all the other another.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe that's how he can use all the other another rider powers. Is he needs the belt. Um, because the future riders don't use like any of the Zi-O power things besides their own, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
Henshin, anything?
Yeah. Try to do this in semi-chronological order. Good. I really like the backstory on Sogo, which is like the first we've gotten since the dream way back. When they mentioned here, he was like, "Oh, he's the other survivor of the bus crash." I'm like, but why does he blame Sogo? What's his deal? What did Schwartz put in his head? And how long ago was that? Which I guess we'll find out next time. Oh, also, fight was pretty good. You didn't mention that Gates tries to use Gates Revive and it doesn't work, which didn't surprise me given his actions in this episode. Trying to think like what else. Another Zi-O is really creepy. I like that. It's just really creepy. Plus, like, Sogo confronting Hiryu is like, Sogo is properly pissed. He's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you hurting innocent people? And I'm like, wow, I have never heard Sogo that pissed before. I like it. So those were my main points. Plus the I can see your future, I can also see your future thing reminded me of a fight in the first 5 episodes of Bungo Stray Dogs, where basically you had 2 people with the ability to see shortly into the future fighting each other in a gun battle. So it was kind of like that, except with powered swords.
yeah, that's cool. My thing, like it's really nice that Sogo's turning more and more into like a normal writer now instead of just being the whole "oh, I want to be king." That was kind of dumb. The other thing is like, yeah, the fight was pretty good. Fuck, they got their ass handed to them. Like Gates and White Waz were kind of winning, and then like another build showed up, and then they just lost because like that's generally what happens. Like unless you have the powers of the another writer, you tend to be outmatched, which is one of the more annoying things about this show. But at least like I guess it gives the gimmicks, some importance. Um, him having a belt though is kind of interesting. It's because maybe we can turn him into like a good guy. Like I probably not, but like let's say if he does stick around, like if everybody else just gets like a powered up form, at least we will still have some use for the another rider forms because like another build will just have the build. I mean like the ride watch gimmicks. If they ever wanted to keep that guy around and redeem him, I don't know if they will, but like at least it's a possibility.
That guy is too interesting to just be a villain of the 2-episode arc. He needs more time. I want to know more about him.
Honestly, like, I really want him to stick around because this is one of the most interesting things this show has done.
I think that what they could also do with him is introduce more another writers without actually having people become those another writers. They could just give them say if they wanted to introduce another drive, they could just give them the another drive ride watch.
Oh, just recruit new another riders out of anyone.
No.
or
Just
at least
give
just the
no
previous
give another Geo the instead of just giving
Oh,
giving so they wouldn't have
I
to
mean,
bother finding other people. They could just give
I
it to the guy they
I think
already
the
know.
implication is that they need to find like a compatible user first. Though the
Well, the thing
rules
is,
are incredibly vague and unclear.
yeah, but the thing
yeah,
is, another Geo could. I don't think they would need other people.
yeah. I mean, like, here's the problem with that happening is like we would literally run into like, okay, this is the Sogo show with Sogo and Black Waz. This is the Gates and Tsukiyomi show, and now and then the Time Jacker shit, and then we've run into I guess White Waz is with Gates and Tsukiyomi. And then we'd run into another Zi-O who's basically, I don't know, fucking doing what, like White Wizard now? Like, we would literally have like three different writer shows. Like, it's not bad, like, it's a cool idea, but I don't think they'll do that because, like I feel like the another writer stuff has run its course. Especially usually when like the main writer and the secondary writer have their like powered up forms, like it's about time that we're gonna move on to some like another gimmick, unless it was fucking build, because like we never ran out of full bottles in builds. Like there were so many. There was like a web series with the damn full bottles and movies with their own full bottles, and then like
They just started with an
freaking
absurdly
alternate.
high number that they'll never have enough to show.
They
Yeah,
should have
Yeah,
just stuck with
so much that
60.
I think what they might do is like having some like Gamba riding exclusive ride watch forums, like they did with like Dog Mike.
yeah, it could be interesting. Like I don't know. That's the thing. Like this character is just showing up, and it's made the show so much more interesting. That like it could literally go anywhere at this point, and it'd be fine. Like it could literally turn into like three, four different shows, and we'd be fine with it for the most part. As long as he stays around. Like we don't know if he will, but he seems too interesting to not be around.
There's also the
Oh,
obvious question: if the Another Rider's existence replaces the original Rider, why does Zi-O still exist?
That is a very good question. I hope they at least give some answer for that.
Maybe
yeah, that's what.
maybe it was created differently from the watches, or maybe that it's just he's the main writer, the main current writer.
I mean, yeah, it could be one of those weird things of like the main writer just has this weird gimmick of it doesn't matter. Everybody else has to follow the rules, they don't, which kind of sucks, but like kind of how writer works. But then again, like you said, there could be a weird version for him because like one, he has to have a belt to use his thing. And two, it's like he can use other ride watches. Like he's a freaking weirdo to begin with, so like applying normal rules might not work for him. And the other more obvious thing is, fuck it, this show doesn't explain anything. We're just gonna run with it, like they've been doing with everything at this point. Who
I'd
knows?
rather have at least some explanation rather than nope, everyone main characters has plot armor.
Honestly, like, if we don't get an explanation, I'm gonna be upset.
I think he just transcends time, so I guess
Even,
that's probably
it,
why.
even if that's all they say, I want them to say it. Whether or not it's a good explanation, I want something more than nothing.
Hey, so Deno, have we had a Deno form yet?
It was a movie exclusive.
No, it wasn't in the movie. We got that was Kuga and Double,
No,
but no.
there was
But
another Deno in one of the movies. He
oh,
didn't
I
use
thought
the
you
form.
meant. I thought you mean Deno Ride Watch, like
I
Deno.
Another Deno was like the villain of Heisei Generations Final, which won't come out sub till June, probably. I'm going by the 6-month rule for movies.
So he probably hasn't used the form, but the another rider existed.
Okay.
Yeah, that sucks because I was hoping like we would get a Deno episode in the show. It's unlikely, but then we could have just had like a Deno thing of like, no, he's just an anomaly. Like he's just one of those weirdo peoples, and that would answer the question. But unlikely
He's
if one that
a singular point.
yeah, like he's one of those things that doesn't fit.
Yeah. So
He's
I
the
need to
next.
get back to Deno.
quick
He's the
recap.
next singular point.
In Deno, it is explained that there are certain people that are absolutely unaffected by changes to history that are called singular points. For example, one of the characters in Deno is a singular point, and changes to the past erase her entire future that she exists in, except for her, because she's unaffected by those things. At another point, Deno himself, everyone forgets about a certain character who is erased from history, except for Deno.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll get an explanation like that. Maybe they're doing something like I don't fucking know. Like at first, I'm like, have I seen this bus thing? Then I'm like, no, that's a freaking Ultraman reference. So that's not something they would be pulling from. And then I'm like, okay, so we've just done like Spies and turned into Black with like Black Sun versus Shadow Moon now. Which I'm fine with, like Zi-O 2 versus another Zi-O. It's cool as a throwback, but like, yeah, without an explanation, it'd be kind of annoying because, like, as much as that singularity thing would be super annoying, like if they, okay, here's the problem: if they do, go with like, okay, no, it doesn't matter. Like force of will, I can do it, and because I'm the main character, basically, I'm like, okay, are we fucking doing not drive, Coast again? Of like, no, it doesn't fucking matter how many times I lose my belt, it's gonna come back. Who cares how many times I die? I continue to revive. Like I don't want that, but like at least it'll be an answer.
So there's
But-
a rumor that we could still be getting a Deno episode.
I was just thinking, like, we have 10 or so Heisei series that haven't been covered yet. I have no idea if they're going to do all of them, although if they don't, I'm fine with that. So I'm like, what other guest actors are we going to bring back? We're halfway through.
Well, I know we're getting the Kabuto guys, right? Or at least there's gonna be a Kabuto one. I know that because I think that's not in the movie, but I know they're doing a Kabuto thing.
Will Tendo come back though?
Most
No,
likely not.
I think Attack's coming back, but I'm not sure about Tendo.
Tendo probably won't come back.
Tendo probably won't come back. Like
The actor, no, they.
He
So
has
from
these
what
names
I've
already
heard a
as
few
the
different
kids.
things, but basically he became really popular after Kabuto, and so I think he became a bit too much for Toei to afford to come back.
Oh, just like Yurotaro.
yeah, just like Deno.
Where
And
the
Philip.
difference being, though, that Ryotaro was a bit more willing to come back on good terms. He just couldn't.
Which he eventually did in Heisei Generation.
Yeah, like the cast that we cannot get back are for sure is like Kuga, like Godai is not gonna come back. I mean, it's like look, man, we all want to see it. It's not happening, right? Like, get over it at this point. It sucks, but it's like it's over, right? Like, this is literally the last time he could show up, and it's not happening. Um, right? Like, Tendo's definitely not showing up. Hibiki is so interesting because, like, I don't know, maybe some of them might have had a change of heart, but I think, like, what happened in Hibiki is so bad. Like, I don't know if they still have bad blood, like, on whose side. Like, maybe it's Toei's just so, like, fuck it, we're not even gonna bother asking them, which sucks. Like, Fies guys, like, they always come back, so they're here. Blade guys, of course, they'll show up if you ask them. Um, we're getting at least one Kabuto episode, so somebody from Kabuto is showing up.
I'd be willing to
The guy
believe
who
Gatak came back.
the guy who
Yeah.
actually played the sword recently.
Recently, what you cut
Sorry.
off?
The guy who played the sword recently came out of retirement, so he's most likely that may be a possibility that he'll come.
Yeah, the one who's okay.
So, this just in from Drago, who's listening. Tendo's actor is kind of not allowed to come back because he started his own agency instead of partnering with existing ones. On top of how expensive he is to come back.
Oh, that sucks. But I mean, it's cool that he's got his own business. What? So it's just walk the path of heaven, or don't walk with Toei. So, like, I mean, I'm cool. Like, okay, if one person had the charisma to do their own bullshit and start their own agency, it's like fucking Kendo. So, like, yeah, sure.
This whole time we thought he was a really good actor. In actuality, he really is just an asshole.
That's true. I mean, to be fair, like, you kind of cast people who have that personality trait, or at least, like, they can go to it easily, so, like, I could see it happening.
I don't actually mean to, like, offend him, though, but...
No, it's fine. It's just, like, he has it on call, right? It's sort of like Tsukasa, like, Decade, where it's like, he's not actually that much of an asshole, but, like, in an instant, if he wants to be, like, he can go, like, full Decade mode, like, no questions asked. I mean, that's kind of why he keeps getting roles, to be honest, but it's like, whatever, it's fine. Right, so, like, Decade came back, Deno, as you said, movie, Kiva, I fucking want somebody from Kiva to come back, but, like, nothing. I don't know what's going on.
Ideally, we'd get Otoya back.
Yeah, ideally, right? Like, everybody wants Otoya just to make, like, the drive and
well,
jokes.
I don't even care about the shared actor joke. Otoya was
They actually did make a reference to that in Heisei Generation. Where one guy confused confused Kazumi for Otoya.
Oh, nice.
But, like, I don't even care about that reference. Otoya was literally the reason I liked Kiva.
Yeah, Otoya's my favorite too. No, you know what the best part about that? Putting Otoya in a Tiny Wimey show, because then, like, okay, who showed up? Right? Is it Otoya? Is it weird alternate timeline Kiva where he's the Dark King? Is it Kazumi? Is it new Kiva? It's literally depending on which clothes he's wearing. He's like 4 different characters. Right? It's fucking great. Yeah, so, like, I wish they would get, like, fuck it, I don't care, man. Get one of the damn, like, get one of the castle beasts, right? Like, one of the monsters who lives in Castle Durant. I'd be fine with them. They're, like, hundreds of years old. They don't age. Like, I'd be cool with that.
Any chance we'd get Wataru back?
I mean, I want him to come back, but I don't know.
Didn't he stop acting to support his music career? Or do I misremember that?
I heard that, but the thing is, like, he was in a drama with Jiro. Like, Jiro's actor and him were in, like, some weird, like, office drama thing.
I think Drago's gonna fact check this for us.
Okay, good. Yeah, like I don't know what's going on. I want one of them to come back. Like fuck it, I don't care. Get Ray, get Saga back. Why not? What's he
How
doing? I have no idea.
Wataru's actor is still acting.
That's cool. Um, right, like then okay, Double. I mean, no. Decade came back. Double because it's got two.
So in a show.
They originally did want to get him back for.
You cut off there.
Yeah, they originally wanted to get Philip back for a Heisei Generation. I think he either couldn't make it or just didn't want to show up.
According to Drago, he just couldn't make it.
Okay.
Yeah, that sucks. Right, and then going to like O's. Well, Eiji already showed up. So we got that. Then like this is weird. Like the post-decade shows are a lot better at showing up. Forze, Jake was there. Like,
well, Forze was just because
he-
Gentaro's actor was
yeah,
too busy with Bleach.
Like half the
Bleach
Forze
movie.
cast was too busy with the Bleach movie.
Yeah, which sucks. I mean, like, it would have been good to have them back in like a anniversary show, but like they were doing other projects, which sucks.
Which is, I believe, is the reason why.
You think they could have? You think they would have held back on Forze tribute like what they did with Ghost, but no.
I think the reason why Decade left the show so abruptly is because he became busy with another project, but then that is done filming. So if they wanted to bring him back, I think he's available now.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, to be fair, I see like if Decade comes back, I see him coming close to the end because like right now Zio's kind of doing its own Zio plotline.
Not to mention how far in advance these episodes might get filmed. I actually have no idea how long it takes.
Yeah, I have no idea what the running time is. Right. Next, so we got Forza, yeah, done. Like Wizard, we got Nito back, right?
Yeah.
So we had
I don't know what Haruto is up to.
Yeah, I mean he's a pretty busy actor too, so he was probably doing something.
Guy, we got Kota back surprisingly.
Yeah, that was pretty surprising, honestly. Actually, we got Kota and Kaito back.
Yeah, actually, that was great.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I wish they had better storylines, but like, at least they came back. That was cool.
Kaito was, for me, was everything he needed to be. He kicked some sense into Gaze, and that's all he needed to do.
Right, and then going after that, we got actually nobody from Drive has shown up, even though like the form exists.
When was the last time anyone from Drive showed up in anything?
I think the first Heisei Generation. Yeah, that one.
Alright.
Yeah.
And that was a good crossover.
Yeah, that was so
Heisei
good.
Generations movies. That four-way henshin was really good.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, but they
especially
did
like.
mention,
Yeah, go ahead.
but apparently they mentioned that Tsukiyomi has a thing, Shinosuke, in one of the .5s, but I doubt that's canon. But if it is, I would like them to touch on that a bit. Like if Tsukiyomi actually does meet Shinosuke.
It's like, oh, hey, this guy's kind of cute. And then we come full circle. We already got our Ghost, X8, and Bill tributes.
Yeah, those were great.
Did we cover like Agito?
Well, I mean, the thing is,
they
like,
actually did. They actually did bring. What? Oh yeah, they actually did bring Agito back, but only in voice form for Heisei Generations Forever.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I was gonna say like we had the suit, but it was the suit with Decade pretending to be Agito. So that was fucking annoying. But whatever. Like the problem with Agito is like, okay, it had like 4 riders. One of them's dead. The other one's a robot suit. that you have to put on, so that's not coming back because you can't inherit the G system's power. They're not going to roll out that trailer all over again. Um, right? Um, the Gill suit got destroyed, therefore Agito is the only damn suit worth a damn. Like Gill's Exceed is there, but like nobody's in their final form, so like having Gill's Exceed show up would be fucking weird. So like normal Agito makes sense. It's just like nobody, like actual Shuichi was not there, so I mean like at least they got the voiceover in the movie. That's good.
But like suits aside, in terms of getting one of the actors back.
I was like, oh, they got Hojo. I'm like, no, they didn't. That was that was fucking a Drive movie, right? And then he was in something else. Yeah. Anyway, like Hojo's come back a couple of times, which is cool. But I don't think he came back for this show.
Alright, we are already hitting an hour here, so I think this would be a good time to wrap this up. So, final thoughts on the episode. Overall, I do enjoy what the show is doing now. Like, I really enjoy Sogo and Waz's relationship building up the way it is, and I'm very interested in Hiryu as Sogo's rival. I hope that they explore it more. So I actually look forward to seeing what comes of those plot lines. And also, I guess Tsukuyomi and Waiwaz are in there somewhere too. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the show has really hit its stride. Like, it's kind of hard to say how good this episode was because, again, it's just all set up, but it was really well handled. Okay, for the most part, except Tsukiyomi still seems a little weird, but like, I guess we're just gonna have to get over that. But other than that, everything was really solid. Shit, freaking God damn it, these names. The blue time jacker kid.
Right?
Voodoo? Voodoo?
Yeah, him.
Just call him
Okay.
Whatever, man. I don't care.
There's so many ways you could say it. I just say it how they say it in the show. Udu.
Yeah, Udo. So I wish, like, I hope he comes to the good guy side because, like, he has the most development of anybody, and I feel like he doesn't want to do this anymore because, like, all this crazy shit's happening, and he like has nothing to do with it. He just has to deal with it. Like, I feel like that's one of the characters that should be redeemed. The one problem with that happening, though, is then you have the team of Sogo, Black Waz, Tsukiyomi, Gates, White Waz, and Uru, right? Versus two time jackers. Like, the fucking deck was stacked pretty hard against them already, but, like, everybody against those two, like, they have no chance. Oh, and possibly, like, Hiryu might become a good guy, too.
Really good episode. I like pretty much every bit of it, and I love the setup. Plus, I love that loads of we have more character development for Sogo and a rival for him who is not Gates, who isn't really his rival, sort of. So I'm really excited to see where the show goes. If the show just keeps emphasizing its original plotline instead of just, we're going to homage all of the Heisei Rider series, if that takes a back seat, I will be very happy. That as the backstory, and then original story for the rest, I will be set.
Guess we'll just have to see what the show brings for us. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow for a special occasion where we'll be talking about Power Rangers Beast Morphers, Episode 1. We're looking at possibly making that a third weekly podcast. And then back next week for the same round as usual. See you next time.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.